Good evening, everyone. It's 5 o'clock, so we'll call this work session of Monday, February 17th to order. Our first order of business will be the adoption of the agenda. Is there any motion to adopt or change?
Move to adopt.
Any discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed likewise. Agenda passes. All business, we have none. New business, the Rebuild North Carolina Buyout Program.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council. I would like to introduce Ms. Maggie Goulaw. She's the buyout manager for NCORE. That is the state office that is administering the disaster recovery funds. So she's going to do a brief presentation to you all about their program for the buyout for Goldsboro.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Good to have you here.
Thank you.
Tell us good stuff.
Yeah, so I'm excited to come here and present on this program. As Shakol mentioned, this is the Rebuild NC Buyout Program. Is that better?
I'm not talking, okay.
Is that better?
Good.
Okay, cool. So this is the Rebuild North Carolina Buyout Program. This is a federally funded grant program funded by the Community Development Block Grant for Disaster Recovery. And so I'm just here to talk a little bit about it. This program, my purpose in being here is to introduce this program to you guys and identify the next steps forward towards getting this program launched within the city of Goldsboro and answer any questions that you do have. So first, this is a buyout program. So what is a buyout? A buyout is a mitigation activity where vulnerable properties are purchased and demolished and the resultant parcels have a deed restriction put in place so that nothing can ever be built there again. Local governments become the owner of the parcels and they are responsible for ongoing maintenance. Properties can return to a natural state or they can be used for a park or other community amenity. Buyouts are among the most effective mitigation activities, and as other federally funded buyout programs are as well, this is completely voluntary on the part of the homeowner. No eminent domain or anything like that will occur. So for this program specifically, as I mentioned, this is a HUD-funded program. We have funding from the Community Development Block Grant associated with Hurricane Matthew. We have $25 million from that funding stream. In addition, we're anticipating another $109 million from the Community Development Block Grant for mitigation. We're expecting that money to be available to us within the next month or so. We currently are launching our buyout programs for Hurricane Matthew affected areas. We have 13 different areas in 5 different counties: Columbus, Cumberland, Edgecombe, Robeson, and Wayne, which were designated by HUD as the most impacted and distressed communities associated with Hurricane Matthew. So this program is managed at the state level. What that means is that me and my staff will be taking care of all of the procurement and everything like that. What we're here to ask from the local government is an acceptance of the properties after they've been purchased and recognition that the responsibility for ongoing maintenance will be the city's. The commitment is expressed through the execution of the cooperative agreement, which I have shared with the city staff. As I said, the state staff, we will be running the program. We will have targeted outreach to the homeowners within the buyout zones, which I will discuss next. We'll have case management staff, applicant support, procurement for all of the services and activities associated with this grant. And we will have services available to homeowners locally at our Rebuild NC Center, which is already staffed and at 1308 Wayne Memorial Drive, Suite C here in Goldsboro. So this program is like other buyout programs. Like I mentioned, it's completely voluntary on the part of the homeowner, but one of the biggest differences is that we are very targeted in our approach. So we have identified some areas that we worked closely with the city of Goldsboro to further define. Initially, we drafted those zones at the NCORE offices, looking at flood data, inundation data, prevalence of repetitive loss, severe repetitive loss properties, census tract data, and documented interest in other mitigation activities through the Hazard Mitigation Grant Program. And then, as I mentioned, we brought those to the city and we further modified the zones, and this is what we're looking at. So we have 2 zones here in Goldsboro. This is what we're referring to as the West Goldsboro Buyout Zone. It's north and east of South Code Distribution along South John Street. It's located completely within the 100-year floodplain, so it's at an incredibly high risk for flooding. and we know that it was very badly damaged by Hurricane Matthew. Within this zone, there are approximately 80 structures. I will discuss the eligibility criteria for this program in just a couple slides. I just wanted to show the zones for context first. So the second zone, we're calling the South Goldsboro Buyout Zone. It's along South Miller Drive and West Chestnut Street. This also is located within the 100-year floodplain, and there are approximately 105 structures in this area. So for eligibility, the first biggest eligibility criteria is whether or not your structure is within the zone itself. Unfortunately, we can't support buyouts due to our limited budget at the time for properties outside the zone, even though we know that there are a lot of property owners who would like to participate in a buyout. Further, we require that the structure was damaged by Hurricane Matthew. It has to go through an environmental review so that it complies with different federal laws, and we're looking for single-family residences or vacant land where there was a residence at the time of the storm. Further, we also require that the applicant themselves exhibit some eligibility criteria, so we're looking for owner-occupied structures at the time of the storm, where the current owner is still maintains ownership of that property and is able to have clear title by closing. And we are looking for people who, from whom this is their primary residence. We know that title clearance issues are pretty prevalent, especially in a lot of communities in eastern North Carolina, and so our program is able to support title clearance issues and short sale negotiations and stuff of that nature. So for homeowner compensation, we will be looking, in most cases, to offer homeowners pre-storm value for their structure. We do have to look at duplicated benefits as well, so those would be deducted from the purchase price. But on top of that purchase price, we are able to offer people incentives. We have 2 incentives that total, in a maximum case, up to $60,000 for these homeowners who live in these areas. Homeowners are eligible for either the risk reduction incentive, where they receive $10,000 if they relocate to an area of reduced risk within the county, or $5,000 if they do the same within the state. In addition, we have our affordability incentive, where homeowners are eligible for up to $50,000 to assist in the purchase of a new home, as long as it's within the same county and in an area of reduced risk. So the next steps for this program are execution of the cooperative agreement. Then my program will take on doing community outreach, where we will target all of these homeowners within the identified zone, invite them to a community meeting where we will discuss the program in a little bit more depth, introduce them to the case management and intake specialist staff that we will have here in Goldsboro, and answer any of their questions there. Then we're targeting launch on the Monday following that meeting. We'll have applications open for at least 6 months, with continued ongoing outreach to the community throughout that process. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
I have one for you. Is this, there's several programs.
Right.
Is this part, because I thought we already had several houses that had been identified under contract, and that they were actually going to tear them down in January, is what I have heard at one time. Now, I know everything changes every time y'all say something. So, I mean, I don't want to say y'all, but I know it's drug on, drug on, drug on, drug on.
Yeah.
But today, do you have any houses bought or identified?
For this program, no, sir. This is a new program with a new funding source. You might be referring to the Hazard Mitigation Grant Program, which is funded by FEMA and the state, that's managed by the North Carolina Emergency Management Division.
Is that the one we have houses under, Chicago? Yes. Okay. All right. And you don't know, there's like 30 houses in the city, or 50, or so, you know?
There were 84 for the county. I don't know how many there are for the city.
84 for the county? Mm-hmm. Anybody else got any questions or thoughts?
So I have a question. So if an applicant has been a beneficiary from any funding or anything of that nature, are they excluded from this buyout?
No,
So they're still eligible?
the only case would be if they were being bought out by FEMA funding. Obviously, we don't want to do the same
Right.
activity. If they received FEMA funding and they potentially, if they received funds, for example, to repair their home, and they used it instead for a different reason, that might be deduced from their purchase price. But we're still working out some sort of the details of that with HUD, the extent to which we can sort of look around that. So,
Thank you.
As I understand it, your organization will contact all those property owners within those two zones, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Could you provide Ms. Shakola Simpson Carter a copy of this presentation?
Yep, absolutely.
I'd like to get a copy of it.
Absolutely.
What, I may have missed this. When are you going to start to execute this program?
So as soon as we can get the cooperative agreement signed, we'll have a meeting probably 2 to 3 weeks with the homeowners afterwards to make sure that we're able to invite them all, give them enough time to plan on attending, and then we'll begin taking applications here locally the next week.
And how do you plan to communicate this program to the homeowners?
So we're sort of doing a different approach, depending on the different zones. In some areas, we've had program representatives go door to door and introduce themselves to the inhabitants of those homes. In other areas, we've just done letters to the addresses within the zone, but we're trying to cast as wide a net as possible.
Okay, thank you.
So the only way you're getting in touch with people right now is through letters, because if those people have left and we don't have a forwarding address, how do we contact?
Right, and that's something that that's part of the reason why we have 6 months to take applications, because we're really trying to be as diligent as we can in finding the people that might have relocated since. So we're exploring different options. We're looking at different ways. We want to remain targeted in our approach because we don't want to build up hopes for people who might not live within the zone. But we are looking at ways to contact people, including, reaching out to local churches or something like that to sort of activate that social network that might exist.
So
Let me ask you
I'm
something.
sorry, sir. So are we going to be doing like newsletters, like maybe do an ad in the newspaper? And
Yeah, we're discussing it for sure. I think our intent is to sort of see how successful we are and initiate initial outreach to see what kind of efforts we need to do to supplement those outreach efforts.
thank you.
One question.
Yes, sir.
There's Cumberland counties in there, Wayne County and 2 other counties. Comparatively speaking, numbers-wise, how do we rank in terms of properties?
You guys are probably, without being for sure, second after Robeson County and Lumberton. But compared to a lot of the other areas, a lot of our buyouts are targeted in really small communities. So Lumberton and Goldsboro are really our largest areas by number of properties.
Good, thank you.
From the time you identify and they sign, how long from now could those homeowners be getting their money?
So this is a program that hasn't been run before, especially this model, so we're not quite sure. We don't have any experience to speak to that, but we're anticipating if somebody's pretty good on clear title and doesn't have sort of a multiple owner situation that needs to be worked out, could be 6 to 8 months until they're able to be compensated by the program.
Anything else?
I assume you run title searches on these properties.
We have not yet, but we will, of course,
Yeah,
as
right,
part of the process, yes.
All right, well, keep pushing forward.
All right,
Thank you.
Folks want you to get their house.
we're going for them.
All right, thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course, thank you.
All right, so now I guess we're going to move down to consent agenda. Item E. Let's just shoot through. Okay.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. The non-contiguous annexation petition is for Renew Life Extended Incorporated. The property is located on the northeast side of Windsor Creek Parkway between Wilshire Way and Wayne Memorial Drive. The applicant is requesting that non-contiguous property described by meets and bounds that were provided to the planning department, and also in the maps you have attached to the agenda item showing the property proposed to be annexed. Pursuant to General Statute 168-31, council shall fix a date for public hearing on the proposed annexation if the petition is considered sufficient by the city clerk. The city council at their meeting on February the 17th would request the city clerk to determine the sufficiency of the petition. If the petition is determined to be sufficient, a public hearing would be scheduled and a report will be prepared by the planning department in conjunction with other city departments for submission to the council. It is recommended by motion request that the city clerk examine the annexation petition to determine its sufficiency. Any questions?
Now, is this in addition to what they have along Highway 70, Renew Life, or are they moving the whole operation?
This is a new building, the one right off of Windsor Creek Parkway. The site plan came before council and was approved a few months back.
Yeah,
So now
it's a new building.
it's a new building.
Okay, thank you.
The next item I have is the utility construction agreement for Central Heights realignment. This is known as Project U5724 between the City of Goldsboro and the North Carolina Department of Transportation. I think we're all familiar with the realignment of Central Heights Road at Berkeley Boulevard. It's a funded transportation project with right-of-way and final design currently for the construction scheduled for this fiscal year. The project will align Central Heights Road with Royal Avenue at Berkeley Boulevard by relocating Central Heights Road from south of the railroad to north of the railroad. The project will also include the extension of Fallon Boulevard at Berkeley Boulevard to Central Heights Road and the realignment and extension of Oak Forest Road over the railroad to Central Heights Road. The project will also include widening of Oak Forest Road to Gateway Drive. The city shall participate in the construction of utilities at a cost share of 25%, and the NCDOT shall participate in 75% of the actual cost of the utility construction. The estimated cost of the utility construction is $1,232,645, and the estimated cost to the city is $308,161.25. Upon completion of the project, NCDOT will invoice the city for their share of the actual cost of utility construction. The project let date is estimated for June 26, 2020, with a completion date in FY 2023. The cost estimate falls within the engineering's 10-year capital improvement plan, and funds will be appropriated during the FY 2023 budget. It is recommended by motion adopt the attached resolution authorizing the mayor and the city clerk to execute an agreement with the North Carolina Department of Transportation for the utility construction cost share under Project U5724 Central Heights realignment. Any questions?
Any questions?
Thank you.
Item G, Catherine?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Tonight, we're asking to have the council establish a special revenue fund for the federal and state drug forfeiture. In the past, these funds have been processed through our general fund, but because of the sporadic nature of the revenue, we are asking that you establish the special revenue fund so that the revenue stream will stay constant. We don't have to adopt this annually through a budget. Currently, we have $173,000 approximately in federal drug forfeiture funds and approximately $6,000 in state drug forfeiture funds. And so, we're just asking to adopt the special revenue fund if you have any questions.
Any questions? Be a better way to track it, is what you're saying, I think.
It is.
So
It's a much better,
transparent.
more transparent.
All right, you gonna do item H?
Yes. We're amending the Edward Byrne Justice Assistance Grant, or the JAG grant. We have received an award of $47,003 for the 2019 JAG grant. This will be used to purchase equipment, and we have a cooperative agreement with the Wayne County Sheriff's Department, so we'll be splitting that half, and then we administer the funds coming in. So we're just amending the fund to take care of that $47,000.
Any questions? All right. Item I. Beat that shit to death.
Good evening again, Mayor, City Council. Item I is the resolution authorizing the adoption and implementation of the City of Goldsboro updated Title VI program. As a recipient of Federal Transit Administration, or FTA funds, associated to the $6.7 million of Tiger Grant for the Goldsboro Main Street Revitalization, Transportation, and Investment Project downtown, the city is required to comply with Title VI of the Civil Rights Act of 1964 and the implementing regulations. This requires the city to establish a Title VI program which provides that no person shall, on the grounds of race, color, or national origin, be excluded from participation in, be denied of the benefits of, or be otherwise subject to discrimination under program, activities, or services that receive federal financial assistance. The city initially implemented the Title VI program on March 17, 2014, and revised it on December 5, 2018. On November 21, 2019, the city retained Mulligan and Company, LLC, to update the city revised Title VI program in accordance to FTA, Office of Civil Rights, current standards, and recommendations based on its review. The proposed updated Title VI program includes provisions required for compliance with FTA Circular 4702.1B. The updated Title VI program prepared by Mulligan and Company, LLC, has been reviewed by the city's Title VI coordinator. The documents has been sent to FTA for its preliminary records. All Title VI programs must be approved by the recipient board of directors or appropriate government entity or official responsible for policy decision prior to the final submission to FTA. The city's updated Title VI program was provided within your agenda package. By motion, staff recommends authorizing the attached resolution for the implementation of the updated Title VI program and authorizing the mayor or mayor pro tem to execute all documents necessary for implementation of the updated Title VI program. Any questions?
Questions? Thank you. Item J. Are we still working?
Yes, sir.
I ain't seen you so long, I didn't know if you were still here or not. Good to see you.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. Item J on the agenda is the St. Baldrick's Rock the Bald temporary street closing request. An application was received from the Goldsboro Elks Lodge requesting permission to close certain streets for the St. Baldrick's Rock the Bald event to be held on Chestnut Street between Center Street and John Street from 2 p.m. to 8 p.m. on March 14th of 2020. The St. Baldrick's Rock the Bald event is a fundraising event for the Children's Cancer Research and is sponsored by the Goldsboro Elks Lodge. Police, Fire, Public Works, and downtown Goldsboro officers have been notified of this request. Staff recommends approval of this request subject to the following conditions. All intersections remain open for the police department traffic control. A 14-foot fire lane is maintained in the center of the street to provide access for fire and emergency vehicles. All activities, changes in plans, etc. will be coordinated with the police department, and the police, fire, public works, and downtown Goldsboro officers are to be involved in the logistical aspects of this event. It is recommended that the City Council by motion grant a temporary street closing on Chestnut Street between Center Street and John Street on March 14th, 2020 from 2 p.m. to 8 p.m. in order that the St. Baldrick's Rock the Bald event may take place subject to the above conditions. Any questions?
Any questions? All right, you want to do item K?
K is going to be Pig in the Park temporary street closing request. An application was received from the Boys and Girls Club of Wayne County requesting permission to close certain street for the Pig in the Park fundraising event to be held at the city-owned lot at the 200 block of South Center Street from 5:30 a.m. to 4 p.m. on April 4th, 2020. Pig in the Park is a family-friendly event celebrating Wayne County's famous barbecue tradition. 20 cook teams compete in a whole hog cook-off for the title of Wayne County's best barbecue. Pig in the Park is more than just a cook-off. The event features arts and crafts, vendors, live music, and a whole lot of barbecue for the family to enjoy. Pig in the Park is also an annual fundraising event that supports the Boys and Girls Club of Wayne County. The sanctioned cook-off begins Friday night, and the festival is open to the public on Saturday. Police, Fire, Public Works, and downtown Goldsboro officers have been notified of this request. Staff recommends approval of this request subject to the following conditions. All intersections remain open for the police department traffic control. A 14-foot fire lane is maintained in the center of the street to provide access for fire and emergency vehicles. All activities, changes in plans, etc. will be coordinated with the police department. The police, fire, public works, Goldsboro, or downtown Goldsboro officers are to be involved in the logistical aspects of this event. It is recommended that the City Council by motion grant a temporary street closing at the 200 block of South Center Street on April 4th, 2020 from 5 a.m. to 4 p.m. in order for the Pig in the Park event to take place subject to the above conditions.
Any questions?
Chief, do you know why they're moving it up here from Old Goldsboro Park?
They did it last year,
Yeah, they did. I think it's been downtown.
a couple of years now.
Changed names a couple of times, but yeah, it's been up here downtown for the last couple of years.
All right. Yeah, I think Waynesboro was kind of muddy.
Yeah, water.
All right, we got item L, departmental monthly reports. Anything there? Comments or questions? All right, none. I would like to go ahead and do item M, under individual action, fee structure for Goldsboro Municipal Golf Course, and that way Felicia won't have to come to the meeting. Don't say I don't look after you once in a while.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm here before you this evening with Obi, our new golf director. I believe he was introduced at the last council work session. But we're here before you this evening to discuss the fee structure for our Goldsboro Municipal Golf Course. Before you is an agenda item where, again, as far as the background, we're saying that the current rates at our Goldsboro Municipal Golf Course doesn't necessarily address all the possible categories that we can offer to our golfers as far as membership. And so what we are looking to do is we're recommending a rate adjustment, and we have it attached in your agenda packet as far as what the current fees are and what we're trying to propose the fee structure changes to. Basically, what we're looking to try to do is offer an a la carte system for our membership, so the members can choose what they want as opposed to, okay, you have a membership and it's green fees and cart fees. But they can choose they want green fees, cart fees, green fees driving range, green fees, cart fees driving range, where again, we're letting them pick and choose how they want to do their membership. What we're also recommending is also to implement a city employee discounted rate. The city employee discounted rate would be very similar to the discounted rates that we already offer for our seniors and military. So we're not asking for it to be a lower rate than what we're already offering with our other discounts.
Well, I'm not a golfer, so I got a couple questions. For the city employee, you're saying proposed annual rate is $685. I guess today there's not one.
Correct.
Is that right?
Correct. There currently is not a city employee discounted rate. It just depends upon if our city employees, if they're seniors, if they're military, if they fall in one of those categories. But if our city employees, like myself, doesn't fall in any of those categories, then I will pay the regular rate.
Okay. And then to that same point, you're going down there to the city employee in the box, and I guess what you're saying there is these are the 18-hole with the cart, Monday through Friday is $24, weekend and holidays is $30. That's different than what we're charging normal people today?
Correct. That would be the discounted rate that we would be charging city employees if they would just show up at those times to play.
Okay. I don't know what that is.
I've got one question. Is we have the yearly rate, that's just to play golf, and then the cart rate goes on top of that?
Yes, it does.
That's, so, okay.
So if you wanted the yearly green fee rate and a cart fee, and a cart rate attached to it, you'd pay both of those
Okay.
categories. That's what we haven't had in the past. In the past, there was a set number, and the set number was meant for seniors, was meant for the regulars. So there was no separation between the seniors, the military, and city employees. So that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to break it up so people can have a choice on what they want.
And that'll help the walkers then.
So if you
It hurt us.
If you pay the $685, you're paying the green fees, really what you're doing.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And then if you want to walk, you wouldn't pay any more. But if you want to have a golf cart,
You
you'd
pay
pay more.
$13 for the golf cart, yes, sir.
Anybody else got any thoughts, comments, questions?
It's a good deal. I think that's fair.
All right, well, you don't need to come to the meeting. Thank you. You can't go. All right, so that's at the end of our items requiring action. We do have one closed session item for litigation. So we need a motion to go into closed session for litigation.
Make a motion, we go into closed session for mediation.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, raise your hand. All right, we're in closed session. Everybody leave.